Steve here again, and I want to talk about a location that became one of maybe three or four really, well, for me, significant places related to ancestry that I enjoyed. And this one is from the town of Isham. But let me mention first that I've got a box of family tree material that I'm getting most of these resources out of. And it says, if you have no interest in family history, I only ask that you keep these resources to pass them on for another family member or another generation who might. Thank you. So I put all sorts of things that I've collected, and they're categorized in folders. So they're somewhat organized. Okay, I wanted to just talk about that for a moment. Try to get it so it's not reflecting light. So at the top is a picture from a Mrs. Tynan that I met in the town of Isham, and it's from a series of etchings that her husband did. And when Marion and I visited the town of Isham shortly after we were married, it was my second visit, she was preparing these etchings for an exhibition. So we looked them over, and I bought this one because of the gypsy interest. A couple of gypsies there around the campfire. And the connection to the town of Isham in Northamptonshire, England, is over here. You can see the little church, which is St. Peter's Church. I've matted it with a map of Northamptonshire, the county where Isham is. And if you look closely, Isham is located on the road between Wellingborough and Market Harborough. Got a couple of pictures. When I visited Isham, it looked somewhat like that, and there's the little church again. It's got Norman parts to it, so it's built earliest parts in the 1100s, a very old church. Not much else in the town that is that great age, except a dovecote that someone pointed out to us. So another picture from a booklet. On the cover is the little church in Isham, from about the same position as the postcard, but before the time of motor vehicles. So the town itself is Hamlet. The idea of Hamlet, a little town on the River Ise, and the Ise, sometimes referred to as a river, is not really a river at all. It's a little stream that flows through the town. The name Isham goes back to some perhaps more distinguished family, someone that helped, aided and abetted William the Conqueror, was called de Isham, of Isham. You can see that didn't, the arrangement of that didn't last too long because, for one thing, it's awkward to say. So the name just became Isham. And the family moved just a little ways down the down the road a little bit later. But of course, William the Conqueror, a date associated with him is 1066. So when I first came into Isham, I was a lot younger, hitchhiking with a backpack, and got a ride into the town with a friendly man who asked where I was going, and I said, I thought for a minute, in America, the name Isham is so frequently mispronounced. Often people say Isham. So I thought, well, better, he'll probably understand it that way. So I said, I'm going to Isham. And he said, oh, we call it Isham in these parts. So there you are. Ended up inquiring about in the town who might know some history. Ended up being directed to a Mrs. Tynan, and she set me down, and when she heard my story, she rang her friend, and her friend drove me across the countryside. The two of them drove me to Lamport Hall. Of course, being aware of the book, but I hadn't paid all that much attention to the Isham family, so I didn't know very much about Sir Gyles or about Lamport. And she wanted to know if I was related to Gyles, and even if I was his heir. Goodness, well, I don't think I was. Didn't think I was. So ended up in Lamport. Sir Gyles Isham was the quintessential English gentleman, but I might just do another video, keep these short. But just to mention before I leave Isham that when Marion and I came back, that second trip after we were married, Mrs. Tynan was still there. We wanted to stay in the town, the only B&B option. No one was home. It was no longer functioning as a B&B. But we sat on the doorstep, and when the lady who owned the house finally returned, she took pity on us and gave us a room with a window that actually overlooked Mrs. Tynan's garden. So there you are.